Melbourne Port's Michael Danby has been interviewed.
From the Australian Security Service that this company is a risk. Now, this has got nothing to do with being colourblind on encouraging Chinese direct investment in Australia. I make that very clear.
No, but what's
we encourage
the
Chinese.
What is the advice?
The advice is that they should not be allowed to occupy that central nervous system of this great network that the Australian government's building.
At what level has that advice been provided to you?
By the security services that regularly appear before the Intelligence Committee, and of course have given the same advice to the National Security Committee of Cabinet.
Based on what evidence, and why isn't that made available for us to evaluate?
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, John. The intricacies of these organisations are not provided to everyone in the public. That you elect people in Parliament to evaluate these kinds of things. This is done in a non-partisan way, certainly on the Intelligence Committee that I served on, and we tend to believe, as previous governments have believed, the very serious advice we get from these organisations. It is extraordinary, John, that there are members of the coalition who do not seem to accept the view that this organisation, this company, is a security risk to the NBN network if it was to be able to bid at a lowest common denominator level, as Malcolm Turnbull would like, and that they will not take the advice of the security services. Malcolm Turnbull has said twice that he will reopen the NBN to Huawei. That is against the Australian national interest.
Are you politicising security issues now then by dragging Australian domestic political battles into a question of national security?
No, I'm saying that the same criteria should be applied to this government, to Mr Rudd's government, to the Labor government, that would be applied to all previous governments. Can you imagine if a Labor government had received advice from the security services not to allow X company to participate in X activity because it was not in the Australian national interest, it was a security risk, and then we went blithely ahead because we decided that they were going to provide the cheapest bid?
Are you in any way concerned that Michael Hayden, who's the former CIA boss who's led the charge on this issue, is on the payroll of Motorola, which competes in some but not all areas where Huawei's activities are thriving around the world?
Well, I read General Hayden's interview in the Financial Review, and he seems to have been lobbied very hard by Huawei to go on their board originally. And I think that's because of his credibility. And he said...
He checked them over. He said, I wasn't comfortable with them, but now he's in the employ of a rival. So, you know, whoever pays the piper calls the tune.
Well, that may be true, John, but I still think the overwhelming advice of these organisations, the Australian organisations, to our government has been consistent, for a long time. Senator Conroy brought these matters to, in his previous capacity as Communications Minister, to the federal government, and he and the federal government have decided not to allow this company to proceed. All right. It's very, very odd that a whole lot of, I think the Chinese perceived the coalition was going to win the election. They'll probably be asking for their money back from the Huawei lobbyists now. And a whole lot of coalition people went over there, including foreign spokesman Julie Bishop, who accepted against any expertise in security a Huawei tablet. I think that the lobbying effort with the Huawei company and the coalition is very wrong.
Okay, we will undoubtedly hear from the company. We've put in calls, spoken to their PR people, invited them to respond and see what their reaction is. But at its most fundamental level, after what Mr Snowden has revealed about the spying activities of US intelligence agencies, what the French have revealed about where they've been spying, everyone's been spying on everyone else, what's the difference here? This is just the Chinese keeping an eye on what's going on, just like we do, just like everyone does around the world. Why elevate this to a different level?
Because the allegation is that the Chinese state, through this company, would have access to Australian defence and intelligence secrets. I'm sure you're not suggesting that Mr Snowden was happily providing those to the Chinese or to the Russians, or that they should be available to anyone. He was talking about data retention and issues of the public in the United States. This is concerns about a Chinese company and the Chinese state having access to Australian national secrets.
18 minutes to 9. Just finally, as we move on, what's your tip? What's the expectation? What are you being forewarned about in Labor circles about the timing of an election? The Prime Minister on the cusp of calling an election for August the 24th is the scuttlebutt around the media traps.
Well, the Prime Minister's certainly got us back in a position where we're competitive. The Labor Party is gathering in Balmain on Monday, and I don't know whether there'll be any announcement there, but...
Are you expecting it?
Half expecting it, but, I don't have any inside knowledge on that, so I don't want to say that there's anything that I've said that will confirm August 24 or August 31 or
24/7. Kevin goes
21.
to Indonesia, goes to PNG, stitches up a regional solution to the asylum seekers issue. The whisper is there may even be news about Australians in jail in Bali that he's going to announce over this weekend as well. Have you heard any whispers about that?
He's very active, isn't he? He's Mr. Abbott doesn't seem to have an answer to all of these issues now that he actually has to roll himself out of that small ball and actually address the issues that the Australian people are interested in. I think the Prime Minister showed that he's very active in Indonesia, very capable in international affairs, and marked contrast to the opposition who seem to have compromised themselves with this Chinese telco.
Thank you for your time this morning. It's certainly a major issue. Michael Danby.